small team. We support about 20,000, I guess, small businesses in the city of Raleigh, storefronts, mom and pops, the businesses that really that give the community its character. We also work with people that may still be working on ideas at their kitchen table to be a business one day. So what my team and I do are develop resources through programs, through partnerships in the community with great organizations like the Small Business Center and others, and lots of information. And what I'm telling coming by our table today is my big goal is to try to help small business owners not have to learn everything the hard way. So hopefully we can accomplish some of that, and I look forward to the conversation.
The Small Business Center Network has been at all the community just for 40 years. I've been doing this for 13 years. I was just talking earlier, I've been doing this for 13 years, and I've been at Wake for the past 2 years. It's designed to help anybody getting started, and we do that primarily through one-on-one counseling as well as webinars and seminars. We're at the community colleges, so it makes a ton of sense that we're offering educational opportunities, and most of them are short-term, quick 2-3 hours, but we do have our launch component that's on the entrepreneurship side of the house that has a 10-week cohort-based program that once you've completed it, they have a Main Street Accelerator, which is a pitch competition for funding. So those are generally locational based. There's a Launch Raleigh that just finished. Right now we're working on, I can't remember, 6 of the other communities in the county. We service our own service areas, so I only have to worry about Wake County, thankfully. But we do work very closely with my counterparts at Durham Tech, Johnston Community College, as well as the folks that are coming up later, the SBTDC.
Perhaps both of you could kind of talk, if possible, about maybe grant programs that are available right now, but also, I don't know if either of you dive into loans. From many of my conversations with small businesses or small business owners, it's hard to get loans, anything under $100,000. You know, there's big money, 600, maybe $1 million, but a lot of people who are just in the infancy stages might only need a small injection of cash or capital to kind of get the ball rolling. Is that something that either of you guys help with or just help navigate with?
That's a great question. I think last fiscal year, almost half of the questions we got were, where can we get access to capital? Where can we find money? As the city, we don't have, we have really one avenue that we're able to do economic development funding to small private businesses through a very narrow lane under the state regulations of what we can and can't do as a city with public tax dollars. Both of the programs we have are around doing construction projects to commercial property to activate them for small businesses. So, for example, if you are thinking about opening a bakery, you find an empty shell building someplace that doesn't have anything in it, we have a matching reimbursement grant that'll go up to $25,000. It's not a ton of money, but for small business owners, it could make a little bit of a difference and make it possible to make that leap. We have, it's called the Building Upfit Grant Program. We have a companion program that is for the exterior called the Facade Program. Works the same way. Small business owner makes the investment, the city will come in and qualify those expenses, and if they qualify, do a matching reimbursement for that. With that said, there are other grant programs that go on. Our team works very closely with a lot of what we call CDFIs, community development financial institutions, as well as commercial banks who are all out there with resources to do lending to small businesses. So we do a lot of connecting in that area. And then my final part of the answer would be back to half the questions are, Mark, do you have any money? The answer is usually no, sadly. But what we try to do is ask, why do you need the money? and then understand that maybe it's about customer generation. Now we can have a conversation because we know organizations that we can connect you with that can help with that customer generation. Or maybe it's marketing, or maybe it's your supply chain. So please contact us, even if you don't think we have the money, because we might be able to dig a little bit deeper and then find other ways to help your business be successful.
I had a follow-up question to that because I think you called it the facade, but I knew it as the storefront grants. That was something that came out of COVID.
You're close. The storefront program is actually very similar to both programs. Storefront program is managed out of Downtown Raleigh Alliance, who we do a lot of partnership with, and we do collaborate with Downtown Raleigh Alliance. So a small business could actually do all three grants. We designed DRA and us, we designed our programs so they could all work together. So don't feel like you have to, come to one and say, don't tell them that we applied for that. We can actually help you cover more ground if you let us know that you're applying for all three of those programs.
Okay, so if you're looking to do a storefront, 3 options there. Okay, all right.
There aren't a lot for startup. The one, it's a well-hidden one, I think. The Capital Area Workforce Development Board they received a grant several years ago for startup. It's only $1,500. You have to go through their programming. It's very similar to ours and others that do educational components, but they do have a small one, very small, $1,500. The other one we look at, especially if you're trying to start, and we've had success with both programs, is Kiva through the Carolina Community Impact. It's a crowdfunding, no interest loan, so it's not free money, but it's as free as you're going to get it as a loan. And it's really nice. We've had some really good success stories in the county with that. The other one, and it's just several of the corporate grants, we've had some success stories with some of our clients. We've worked with them in terms of getting some of for example, Lenovo was a big one recently. And of course, those are corporate and generally looking for existing businesses, unfortunately. So there are opportunities. It's just trying to find them.
I mean, I could just go on and ask them questions. Oh, Jen Martin's here. Hey, Jen. Okay. Jen Martin is the Executive Director of Shop Local Raleigh Division of Greater Raleigh. It's the Merchants Association. You know some of their big events, whether you put a name to it or not. Broogaloo is under Shop Local Raleigh. That's just one of them. Also, the Raleigh Christmas Parade, which ABC 11 is a proud sponsor of. Thank you very much. It's a nonprofit dedicated to connecting businesses and community together. Close to 900 members. So these are local small businesses that are leaning in to the Merchants Association for help in kind of bolstering their businesses and boosting sales at that. So I know you just rolled on in. Everyone had gone down the line, told a little bit about themselves and what the association does. I didn't know if you want to take a few minutes and talk also to the organization.
Sure. Sorry about that. I guess I got a different email than everyone else. But I'm happy to be here today, so thanks for having us. Shop Local Raleigh, we are, as she said, about almost close to 900 members right now, all throughout Wake County. We are a very small team of 3, but we are excited to announce we're growing and looking to add 2 more people here in the next few months. So that is exciting. Broogaloo is our largest event that we produce all year. It's a craft beer festival. It's also the largest in the country. It's all North Carolina based as far as food trucks, vendors, and the breweries that are represented there. So a couple of things we do is try to mentor small business. We try to do educational seminars, networking events, any type of consulting type needs they need. And then if there's things that we can't answer or help them with, we lean on our other local resources and partners to help them as well. So thanks for having me.
Yes. And I know Jen from so many of the stories that I've covered, but also some of the projects you've done for small businesses around town. And she's really someone who's in the trenches, working without solely just to see that they succeed in a community. Just prior to you coming in, we were talking a little bit about startups and kind of getting ideas off the ground and the difficulties that there are with financing. Is there any help that your association also provides in kind of getting ideas off the ground?
Sure. So a lot of times people will probably usually go to Mark first or Wake Tech and then come to us and look for other avenues of resources. If we are unaware of any grant opportunities, we do try and source and find what is out there, what exists. As many of you know, grant funding is hard to come by, especially when you're first starting, and different types of funding out there. Elena actually just sent me a link the other day of a new program that exists, which was exciting to see. But it's sometimes what we'll try to do is look. One, depends on what type of business you're doing. If it's a retail type business, are you doing any type of like food vendor, things like that? Is it helpful to start small first, maybe at pop-up events, versus having to have that brick and mortar right off the start to try and really get your brand out there, to get your name out there, your product, and also get feedback from people to see if this is a viable business and something that really is helpful before you invest and sign a lease and get into something long-term that may not be something that you realize how much it is.
And I just want to speak to the grant I sent Jen a link to the other day. Our state did receive a new shot of part federal, but also part hedge fund funding. It's part of the program called NC Invest, and this is kind of a collab between the federal government, but also investment firms from all over the country. A lot of them are in New York. They're kind of matching funds to give small business owners or those working in the tech industry capital. Specifically, it's meant for women-owned or minority-owned businesses, which studies have shown receive far less capital than male small business owners. So that's just something to write down if you're looking to get an idea off the ground. Also, that could potentially be an avenue to go look into to see if you can get some capital. I mean, I could ask you guys tons of questions, but I do want to open it up and see if anyone here who might be curious yourselves had a question or two for some of the folks who are up here who could guide you through the process of starting something. And I see Miss Berta, this lady at the end.
Oh, you gotta push the button.
Quick question.
You gotta push the button.
Yes, in the last year, kind of what has stood out as the thing that you were like, oh my gosh, that business owner in that particular situation was like what I got up this morning to help somebody with? Like, what stands out to you guys, if it's not Kiva or any of the other like opportunities that you have for a small business owner? And bonus points if it's a woman-owned small business success story. That was my question.
Sorry, we're having to share.
So the question was a success case example.
I've got one. We have a client who has attended myriad of our events, has finished one of the launch programs, and is currently going through our Contractors Academy, again, long form stuff, who has gone from baking out of her home to now she's got a food truck and she's doing her grand opening this month. And it was a 1.5 year long process, but you saw her every step of the way, learning everything she could to take it to the next level, and without anybody pushing or prodding her. And it's been fantastic to watch. So I'll be pleased to go. It's next Sunday.
All right, I thought of one. So thank you, Todd, for buying me some
What's
time.
the name she's asking? Secretary's asking, what's the name?
Bunce by Brene. Bunce by Brene.
Buns by Renee?
Bunce by Brene.
Buns. Buns. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
Okay, all right. So I mentioned the grant programs, and I do have, we have lots of examples of businesses we have worked with. One in particular who is one of my favorite stories is the Little Blue Bakehouse over by the Alamo Theater. And it's basically a little bakery. They had an empty shell. It needed a lot of tender, loving care for that space. And they created a business, but one of the unique things and reasons why the team was excited about working with them with the grant is they were also creating almost like a co-working, co-maker space for others, paying it forward. The reason that, if you're not familiar with the business, they make little macarons. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But when they were going into that business, they were looking for a shared space that they could affordably make their baked goods. They couldn't find one, so they thought, well, what if we just create one ourselves? So they created one where they're running their business, but they're also hosting 4 other smaller bakers who can do that proof of concept, pop-up market kind of thing without making a heavy investment in capital for that space. So it was sort of like a twofer. We helped a small business get off the ground, and that small business is helping 4 other small businesses get off the ground. So that was very exciting.
And also, I should mention, we produce the Raleigh Food Truck Series. If you ever get to go downtown for that event, we just to FYI, we hope that Bunts can come and join us at that event and be downtown. That's always a fun one. And the Falling for Local at Dix Park, we've got about 50 food trucks there. However, going back to your question, the one yes and no, it was a husband and wife team that we got a call from, and it was a medical office, and they said, you know what, we're doing so well, we have all these patients, but we're not making any money. What is going on? How are we doing this? So I said, you know what, would you trust me to just come in and let's sit down and have a conversation? Let's go over where you're spending money on marketing, what you're doing, which turned into basically them opening their books and us looking at it. We found that they were spending $60,000 a year for a firm to basically host their website, which was supposed to come with a whole social media package, was supposed to come with blogs, which was supposed to come with other marketing. At the end of the day, all they were getting out of it was just hosting their website. And they had no idea that this isn't something that was normal, and that we were able to introduce them to a local company, which charged them $500 a year to host all of their things. We found them an influencer to connect with in exchange for doing an Invisalign treatment, also took over doing all their social media, helping with blog posts, things of that nature. So literally within a month, they had cut off that contract. They had to give 30 days notice and save $60,000. We're excited to share that they are now very profitable. They are growing and have had their best year since existence, and that they are now looking at other ways to try and help connect with other businesses to help them with this, because there's a lot of times people just don't realize there's other options out there.
Don't get me started on the public relations social media teams, okay? Because they are charging crazy, crazy, crazy money. I know someone who started a business, and I was like, well, what's the monthly on this? And they gave me a number of like $2,800 a month. I was like, you're spending $2,800 a month on social media? Like,
And that's cheap.
I think it's crazy. I told him to fire the person. I was like, $2,800 a month, you're getting your business off the ground. That, to me, seems like a lot of money. It's a big expense to absorb as you're trying to like start something. But, you know, if there are other avenues, until you get to the point, and I'm not saying at some point you will need public relations help, you will need social media help if you want to generate and all that other stuff. But I think in the beginning, if there are other programs that can help you and you're not making a major financial commitment to that, $2,800 a month, which is a mortgage for some people, I mean, if you can find another avenue, that's valuable information.
So I just want to add, because we had to talk about it, and I'll come to you, I'm sorry. We had to talk about it last year. Be careful as a small business owner. You're going to have these so-called influencers that are going to come to you and say, we have 30,000 followers. So don't check back. I know Jen does some Tech Tuesday. They do talks about this. So make sure you join Shop Local Raleigh, but don't just give them, you know, whatever money or free food. They go for free food, and they're, oh, we promise to give you the best tags. 30,000 people going to see it, whatever. So because they're like all in India or China, they bought those followers. So just make sure you do your due diligence and make sure you connect. These are the people that are going to see your businesses. Whether we do these expos, festivals. Jen and I do a lot of festivals, local festivals. We support local. These are the people, the tangent that you can see. Don't spend too much money. $2,800 is a lot of money. And I know Jen does so many events. Please make sure you see her afterwards, because their events are amazing. And, you know, they do support local, as do we. But anyway, I think we had a question over here. I hope that was under 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for talking about all the grant options and assistance programs that you have going on. I would love to know, for some of us who are starting from scratch, what type of documentation or information we would need before coming to you guys, whether that is like a very detailed brand pitch or a business plan or something like that. Thank you.
Because we only have one mic.
I'm excited to answer that one first. So the most immediate answer is come talk to me at the table after we're done here. I can talk your ear off all day long about it. We have created startup roadmaps on our city resource page that help at a step-by-step level from the original business plan to picking a location to figuring out what a commercial lease has in it, to how to keep your customers, so on and so forth. There's no wrong place or wrong time to engage. Jump in where you are, and we can provide resources that'll help you the rest of the way. The key to what we attempted to do was, even though I work for the city of Raleigh, for a small business owner, it's really confusing to figure out just what all the different governments do, the state government, the county government, the city government. We've attempted to create the startup roadmaps to be holistic, where there's going to be parts about the state, parts about the city, parts about the county, that you don't have to go to 5 different websites to figure all this stuff out. It's not perfect, and it's still a work in progress. We've got restaurants, retail, and childcare models up on our page now. The next one will be salons and barbershops. Food trucks will follow, etc. But I would say that would be a good place to start. And again, I will talk to you all day long afterwards at the table of other startup resources we have, including some online tech tools where you can do heat maps of the city of Raleigh to figure out where the money is, where your competitors are, where suppliers are, public event calendars where you can find different events of interest. I better give this up or I'm going to talk all day.
I was just going to say what he said. Mark nailed it when he said, come to us wherever you're at, because we're there from people who barely have an idea, and quite honestly, and I'm not sure what percentage we get that are like, I think I have an idea, to the best ones are the ones that come in ready to roll, and it's really just sending them out with a blessing. So we're ready either way.
And same, we don't have any type of criteria restrictions from that. Our Falling for Local event, we even have a kidpreneur section, which means all of those entrepreneurs that are under 18, and they'll be making, some of them make anime jewelry, some of them have fun bracelets, and they're working, their parents obviously or their guidance working with them and mentoring them. But really, I mean, to start a business, as long as you're paying your sales tax that you collect, I know Miss Marshall sitting here, she's like, yes, pay your sales tax that you collect, make sure that's legitimate, because that will get you in trouble. But you can use even a social security number just to get started, as long as you're paying that sales tax through that and taking in revenue that way. We do recommend, though, that a lot of people don't have insurance for their business, and they think because they've registered as an LLC that they're covered. That, I think, is probably one of the biggest misconceptions that we tell people all the time, is it is worth your investment to make sure that you have a separate business policy. We actually had a vendor one year, fun fact, a woman business was doing fairy hair, and she thought it was ridiculous, we required it, couldn't believe it, and after the event came up to us and said thank you, as a little girl fell off the chair getting her fairy hair done and broke her arm. And so we were so thankful. That's one of the big things, that it might be $300 a year, but it's a great investment.
Do you have a question? I'll come back to you.
Are some of the grant opportunities and funding available for franchisees?
The city programs are for small businesses, and they do have some restrictions around franchises. But in general, in the grant atmosphere, ecosystem, whatever you want to call it, I would say just look at the ones that look like they make sense and see what's in the fine print, and there may or may not be restrictions around that.
Everybody we've worked with has been independent, but like I think that if you took a look in other areas where they have similar programs, they may or may not have those requirements.
We don't necessarily give out grants at this time. We're working on a program. We've met with Wake Tech a few times. We're talking about that and how to do it. However, the web is a plethora of information, whether you need help on how to do Canva, how to use social media, how to make fun reels, whatever it might be. It's all out there for free, which it just takes a little bit of time to invest in it, which means also you can Google a ton of grants that are non-restrictive. And the Triangle Business Journal has a great posting they do every month. The Tory Burch Foundation does a lot of women's grants, things like that. It's just very easy to Google and try and see. And also, like, don't be afraid to use your friend ChatGPT to help you with that search. If you're having a really hard time figuring out on Google to narrow it down, it can help you narrow down a lot of those and help you with those links.
Thank you. My question is about business surprises. I understand like having a business plan will help you with surprises, but like the tariffs and duties that are going on. I have a craft business, so I order stuff from all over, and I'm trying to figure out how to navigate that as I move forward with my business. So that was a little bit of a surprise for me.
Good question.
I'll take a shot at it. The best advice I give for those kind of situations is surround yourself with friends. The other people that are in the same types of business, it's really one of the hardest things for a small business owner is it can feel very lonely because you're so busy running the business, you don't really ever have time to come up for air and meet with other business owners in the same space. So if you were to call me with that question to the city, the first thing I would probably do is say, have you met my friend Todd or my friend Jennifer? They know all kinds of businesses that are in the same space as you are, and see how they're navigating it. And then that way you're not having to invent everything from scratch. You can find out from someone else that they tried something, maybe it didn't work, so you don't need to try that, right? Or something that did work, and then you can go down that avenue. But it's always helpful to have that network of business owner friends who you can bounce ideas off of. And then the plug I always give our fair city, the city of Raleigh, is that I've lived in other parts of the country and they are not as collaborative as here. There's a lot of places that you can have, you feel like you have to watch over your shoulder, but knock on wood, Raleigh still continues to have, I think, a really strong ethos of collaboration and pay it forward, because most small businesses here remember what it was like when they got started and someone helped them along. So don't ever feel shy about reaching out. 9 times out of 10, someone's going to be very honored that you asked them for advice.
Yeah, Raleigh's always been very supportive of local. So they're happy that there's big Target and all that, but a lot of times you'll see people that are supporting more like smaller restaurants, mom and pop type shops. The other thing with this one is just always adjust your business. Don't make it so that you're relying getting everything from China. We all have to. We had to through COVID. And so, make sure that you adapt to the new environment, whatever it is, and you just change your business model a little bit to fit the current environment. You just have to keep revamping until it works. Jen, did you want to say something?
I would say too, to Mark's point, talking about see if you can do co-op buying with people that are in that same category. Is there opportunity to, if you have increased buying power, because now you're purchasing more at once, does it help to get a better rate to lower that price point on your items? Also try and see kind of what's local. Like see what's here in America that's being made in America. There's a great website, Manufactured in NC. It lists a lot of people that are producers and makers that you can source from. Again, go back to using the internet to really try and find what else is out there. Are there other makers making the same exact thing? Maybe they're not even in our backyard, but they're also in America that you can work together to group buy from just to get your overhead pricing down.
I'm just glad to see you're trying to be prepared, because that's the only thing you can do for anything. And I know, especially when you imagine 2 hurricanes, wildfires, a hurricane in the mountains, it's crazy the things and pandemic, what it can hit us at any point in time. So sadly enough, being that imaginative and being ahead of the game to wonder what you need to be ready for is very smart.
Did you have a question? And does anybody have a question? Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm coming back to you.
I'm a curious person. I have a question about, you mentioned particularly when you first start your business doing pop-ups and things like that before you try to go deep into retail and that kind of thing. I'm looking at possibly purchasing a currently existing retail store that I have my own products in, but expanding it so that it's mine in every way. Can you speak a little bit about the pitfalls of that, some things you would be aware of, some things that you would do versus wouldn't do, and a little insight on that? Thank you.
I'll go first, I guess. So if it's a retail shop in a bricks and mortar, then please also come talk to me at the table afterwards. But that would be a classic case that we may even have a grant program that can help with that. And then once you're up and running, then these two folks here have organizations that can give you the traction you need to move that forward.
Well, even before that, though, I'd make sure bring in somebody to help you do all of the financials on it to make sure that that's going to make sense, because it's a huge step. Make sure that whatever they're saying is legit.
I would also kind of check on little things that sometimes we don't think about, like TICAM. If you're in a shopping center that has TICAM fees, Wake County has gone up significantly in property value in the last decade, as we all know. Not only have our taxes gone up for our houses, but that also means retail space is going up, and that TICAM fee fluctuates. And so if you're in a shopping center that does have, typically a larger landlord, they're going to pass those fees on. And we hear it all the time from people that what they were paying 2-3 years ago is not what they're paying now, and they're seeing increases of 20-30%, and they're having to figure out how do they account for that and that increase. So one, I would think look at things like that. Also look at basic things in your lease, like who's responsible for HVAC, who's responsible for plumbing. If your unit goes out, are you responsible for replacing that? How old is the unit in that case? Those little things like that sometimes we don't think about. We get calls all the time that a business will take over a space and the HVAC goes out, and here they are having to put 10 to 20 grand in on a new system. Look at placemaking. We talked a lot about this just kind of recently at a Shop Local event with these experts here about who are your neighbors in that center. Are they open to opportunity for collaboration? Is there ability, if you're a destination, are you a standalone location? How are you going to drive traffic to that business, especially during days that maybe the weather isn't great, or July when a lot of people still leave town? Even though we have 500,000 people here, a lot of people still leave in the summer, or it's just hot and they're going to the pool, they're not going out. So how are you going to sustain that throughout the year? So I could go on and on. I think we all could about that all day long, but feel free to ask questions. Or I don't have a table today. Again, we're a staff of 3, but you can always email me. I'm just Jennifer@shoplocalraleigh.org. I'm happy to have conversations with people, brainstorm ideas, go back and forth, as I know both of these gentlemen are as well.
And I'll throw in one other thing for the retail storefront bricks and mortar. We do actually have a very specific startup roadmap for that kind of business model. So it goes through a lot of the details that Jennifer was just talking about with TICAM. It goes through some of the marketing ideas, and with you kind of modeling that into a pop-up type of feel, I can tell you that there's an insatiable appetite in Raleigh for pop-up and makerspace type spaces for small businesses that can't afford to make that leap. We probably would be good resources to help plug different ideas and organizations that might be wanting to be part of your real estate footprint as part of that.
And also, I think, too, once you get into that brick and mortar, don't be afraid to still participate in pop-ups if you've got the ability to do it, because it's an incredible marketing opportunity. We have several brick and mortars that, maybe they stopped for a few years and they've reached back this year and said, I have to do it because I can't afford the influencers. I can't afford that big marketing firm, but I've got to get my name out. And so they're coming back.
It's just, I would think, smart also if you're considering expansion to see if there's an appetite in a different town in Wake County, not just Raleigh specifically. And maybe that leads to another question I have. When, for businesses who are considering at some point, they maybe already have something in place, they're considering to now start scaling, when is it a good opportunity to scale? And are there even grants for that? Are there grants for scaling? I don't even know. I'm not sure. But what is your advice on folks who might want to start building the business back up and having a second, perhaps third location?
Well, my standard grant answer, just see what's out there. And we don't have anything specifically about scaling beyond the ones I've already talked about. But I don't know if there's ever a right time or a cookbook formula for scaling. Every business owner kind of knows their sweet spot, their capacity, their comfort level for when they're ready to take the next step. Just like starting a business from scratch, it's really about doing your homework, making sure that you've got a market that is out there that's going to pay what you want them to pay. So at the end, you've got to eat and pay your light bill. So you want to make sure that it's commercially viable, that you've got a clear path business case to make that happen.
grant-wise, those are the better opportunities that are out there that do exist. Where as long as you, but that's the key, is to having a good game plan, to knowing what you would do if suddenly somebody handed you $50,000. That you can't just go, okay, great, I got $50,000. Now what are you going to do with it? To have that game plan in place, like Mark was saying. So.
And I think too, it differs depending on what type of business it is, whether it's restaurant, whether it's retail, things like that. Restaurant, I always go back to, obviously it's not local, but if you look at the Chick-fil-A model, kind of study that a little bit. Chick-fil-A does not allow another restaurant to open within an area until that one has achieved a certain capacity level. And so a lot of times, if you'll notice, Apex right now is getting a second Chick-fil-A, and people have asked probably for a long time, why have they never had that one? Well, they did not deem as an organization that it was at full capacity. Now that it's one of the largest Chick-fil-A's in the country, they're opening a second location in Apex. And so I think that's something to kind of look at. Another thing too, we talk to a lot of business owners, is also looking at the difference between, do you want to own your own property or do you want to lease and rent it? We've had a couple people that they rented for a year or a couple years, did their lease while they saved and had a kitty to where they could eventually go ahead and open their own space where they own the property. And their game plan for their exit strategy, which is a whole nother discussion we can go on, is how are you going to plan this business for your exit? Whether you're retiring, are you selling it? What is your goal at the end? Are you passing it on? Things of that nature. But their plan is to, when they're ready to sell the business, they're also selling the property with it. And the property is where their real money is valued at, not just their client value, especially in Wake County. Going back to retail then, some of the scale, we've had some that have done incredibly well. They've maxed out the potential of what they feel they can do in that certain location. Will open a second location, done their market research, done their studies, their homework, and for whatever reason, it just didn't take off like the first location did. And that's okay too, if that happens. There's no shame in that game to do that and say, you know what, it just isn't working. Scale back and get out of that. But then other folks, it will work very well. Maybe you're realizing that a lot of your audience, one business is in Cary, most of her audience or her clientele was driving from North Raleigh. It made sense at that point to look at doing another location because they were able to get that. So I think that's too, is knowing where your clientele is coming from, what their zip code is, get as much demographic on them as you can. And also don't undervalue the importance of email marketing. So many people think I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I have a website. Well, look at all the people with TikTok, even though it was down one day, how many people were panicking because they didn't have any way to get their message out? We had 50,000 emails in our database. I wasn't concerned at all. So think about that too. If you've got your email and use that headline, what you send in that title of that email, that is your powerful message to get people to open.
I'm just curious, Jen, because I know you work more in this arena. Do the TikTokers, do those influencers really move the needle for businesses?
I'm old. I'm not on TikTok. I don't even have it on my phone.
I don't have TikTok either.
But
I can't handle one more thing.
I just can't. I'm at that age. But however, if you guys have followed Raleigh Food Trap, Roger, and I think, I want to say Brianna, I can't, maybe I'm messing it up there. Don't tell them if I messed it up. But they're very influential on TikTok. They're one of the largest local people that have a following on that. They specifically spotlight local food places. Does it move the needle for that? Yes, it does. They'll post about the watermelon lady that was in Raleigh that went viral last summer. They'll post about Reggie's Cookies. Reggie's Cookies sold out 3 days in a row when that was posted on there. There's certain things like that yes, it does move the needle. It is a little bit harder for boutiques. I think it's very important to know your clientele and what your audience is. We have a hairdresser in our group. She is very viral on how to do hair extensions, things like that. However, a lot of her followers are not local to come to her salon, but she does have that breadth where she's getting some sponsorship and things like that to do her content. So I think it's just knowing what your brand is in your market. And for us, we are still very, very heavy on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook is really more effective for us for events, because if you notice on Instagram, you go down in the list. So let's say you posted something about your product and it just keeps going down, somebody that cannot share it. But with our Facebook page, for example, people will tag each other. They'll share the event. They'll post about it. It's there all the time. It kind of shuffles differently. For us, we found that Facebook has always been better. So that's why we always have Facebook Eventbrite, and we, of course, do advertising. But you're right. In TikTok, it's fun to do something, but it hasn't really shown that you have a lot of likes and all that. But I don't think, many that I've seen that you get local traffic. So
I think in the food and beverage and, basically food arena, Instagram is very, very, very important, which is why people are paying thousands of dollars a month for social media managers, just social media. Okay. Anyone else in the audience have questions? I don't know if we missed someone's hand.
No, but I want to introduce a cute family. Where is she? Come on up, Trent. Come on. They're so cute. They discovered how to mix chocolate and bourbon.
Oh,
They speak
where's
my
my
language.
sample?
I know.
Where's the samples at?
And the samples, I gave them to the
Okay.
secretary. But anyway, I just want you to see that, you know, we're all local here. This family helps each other. And we have to connect somehow. Quentin also and his son, they do all kinds of, social media stuff. They do, what's it called? Streaming. So they do a lot of stuff. So connect with as many local people as you can. This honestly, you guys will come through for each other. You'll work together. You will bring that traffic. But anyway, you want to say something about your bourbon? Why is it alcoholic? Can I have it some now?
Actually, we are the regional operator from the chocolate moonshine. I don't know, like any of you guys know about chocolate moonshine. So our forges voted #1 in America by Godiva and Hershey. So all our forges 30% less sugar, gluten-free, or cook with all natural ingredients. So this is what we are popular for. We cook in micro batch, so you can see the very different texture and very rich flavor. So whenever you see us in a festival, you guys are welcome to stop by and get a sample of it. So yep.
Thank you. So they'll be at our next event. Make sure you connect with everybody. Chocolate moonshine, yes. And it's totally legal. Quentin, would you like to say something? In case somebody's asking. Totally legal and moral.
I'm Quentin. We're Unity One Media LLC. And we partnered up with NC Vibe a couple of years ago to help broadcast and stream the Raleigh International Food Festival, and we love doing that with you. We're also an official streamer for North Carolina A&T University. If anybody got a contact with NC State, tell them hit us up, okay? They're closer to me. NC State, okay, all right. All right, and we have a television channel on Roku, so if you look up Unity One TV on Roku, you can see us there, and the One Radio online.
Thank you, Quentin. And of course, our DJ over here, Kevin, is Sphinx Entertainment. He's been with us all the time. But you know, when we do these events, we love making it free for everybody. And Jen does the same thing. But these cute vendors are the ones that are paying for it, right? They pay for you guys being here, for putting on this show, so we beg as much as we can for free stuff, but sometimes we can't. And so we have to pay. But Jen talks, we do a lot of these events, but this is such a great way of connecting with people, connecting with their audience, and knowing what their immediate feedback is. They may not like color yellow. So just be open to their feedback, and that's how you do a lot of these, what we've learned over the years.
I do think there was one more question. Yeah.
There was one more question? Oh, okay.
Question.
Hi. I wanted to ask you this question because I think I ran past y'all earlier. I don't live here in the Raleigh area, but I started an NEMT business because it's very rural and people that had no way of getting around, and I want to expand it. But the thing that I'm finding, people's like, try grants, try this, try that. There's no grant for transportation like that to where I can be able to acquire more vehicles. So I have used my personal vehicles. I have bought a couple of vehicles, but I'm looking to find grants, or either maybe somebody can come up with ideas or some type of nonprofit information that I can get to where I can attain more operating vehicles so I can service these areas. My business, I didn't know. I had a client call me, or either somebody called me for information, like, do you know you #2 on the Google website? And I'm like, no. But because it's so rural, when they hit my business name, it pops up as #2. And I get information, people from South Carolina calling me and everything because I'm just that close. My question is, where can I get grant for my business?
I don't know. I'll be 100% honest with you. I don't know that a lot of grants out there exist for so many different types of vendors or businesses that are probably in this room. The reality is of the situation, I think, for a lot of businesses is it is a loan. A lot of people are looking at loan options, whether it's going through the SBA, whether it's going through the Carolina Rural Development Fund, whether it's looking at other things through the county that may be offered where you're at, or going to your economic development office in your municipality. Unfortunately, that is just the hard part of a lot of this is there's grants, but there's not a lot of grants. And so I think, and there's so many businesses that exist. As we know, small businesses are the single largest employer throughout the United States. That is the reality of it. But with that, there just isn't a lot of money because there is so many people looking for that. So look and see, if you haven't talked to a financial analyst, I would recommend meeting with one as well. That's sometimes, a lot of times, not only for your personal finances, but for your business. Looking at, if right now, what are CD rates? Looking at if you've got a little bit saved, is it better to put it in a CD or a high interest account? If your bank account's only earning you 1% right now for your business operating, it's probably not doing you any good, but it's doing your bank good. So see how you might be able to have that fund that you set aside for rainy day or for investment to grow it faster. And then look at if you're doing right now, maybe you're earning 4% in a high yield account, maybe you can get a small business loan at 3%. Look at things like that of how you can look and kind of really do your math and your numbers.
We have another question.
A couple of my counterparts, and I'm probably going to look at doing it now because we've had a lot of requests, especially in recent memory, to get some access to some of the grant database availability. There's not any in the area right now. A couple of my counterparts do have access, so we can do an ask. If you come in for counseling and want to say, hey, can we do a search? We can. Is it going to pull up something? Maybe, maybe not, but we can at least try. So we'll probably be looking at investing in one of the databases here in the near future.
One other quick idea too is if you've got this fleet of vehicles, look at maybe are there sponsorship options for the vehicles? Like are there partners that would look at partnering with you for branding purposes or things like that on your website that you could maybe do? So maybe you can get some investors backing and putting some money in to grow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We have a question over here.
Hello, everyone. I am Maria Barber. I own Ballhurst Choice Sports Women's Flag Football League here in Raleigh, North Carolina, as well as Let Her Be Sports, which is my recent nonprofit. So if you all don't know, flag football is the hottest thing right now. It's in our high schools. It's going to the Olympics in 2028. And so I'm kind of paving my own way as an owner of a flag football organization. I currently cater to adults, ages the youngest 17, oldest 55, but trying to figure out how to increase exposure for this type of business. We have 9 teams this season, but with the nonprofit, we're planning to offer safety courses, just anything that's needed to be successful as a girl in sports. So just trying to figure out how do we increase visibility so that people know we're here, as well as be appealing to sponsors, because of course it costs money to rent fields, to pay officials, all these different things. So one, how do we increase visibility, and how are we appealing to sponsors or investors?
I will start with it, and then I'm going to send it over to probably Jennifer. But so it goes back to what you were saying earlier about knowing your audience, knowing your clients, knowing where they are, and how to send your message through that channel where they're going to see it, and a message that they're going to respond to. But the common answer I'll give in a situation like that is also leverage the organizations that are already doing a lot of promotional work and having events and things of that nature. And a lot of times it goes over to Shop Local Raleigh and other organizations like that in the community that are out there doing events and getting engaged and just getting that visibility so people see what you're doing, generate some conversations, spark the discussion, and go from there. So knowing your audience and leveraging the organizations that are already doing events and marketing and promotion, and they're really, really good at it, and I'm looking at you.
Thanks. A couple of things going back to your audience. I don't really know kind of who your clientele is. I may have missed it. Was it elementary, middle?
So the league itself is actually adult women, and then we're adding the youth component this year. So we'll cater to middle and high school girls. Because even though it's in the high schools now, everybody can't play. They only pick 25 people, but the rest of those girls want to play.
Okay. So that's helpful. So a couple things I would look at too. One is, how are you meeting people? Like, you may have one team or two teams, things like that. Look at, like, let's say Carolina Roller Girls, for example. Obviously, they play at the arena. It's a ticketed event. They have games. But how are they reaching people? One, they're online with social media. They're having networking events, kind of meetup nights. What are women looking to do? Is it going to local gyms, letting them know that this thing exists? Are you able to put up a poster in there? Are you able to put something in their newsletter? Are you going to local churches, that maybe have softball groups? Can they add on additional teams? I think it's going to go back to just really grassroots marketing, kind of rolling your sleeves up, putting your feet on the ground. And also, we mentioned these pop-up events a lot. I know our event with Falling for Local over at Dix Park, we have 150 local vendors that set up. We have radio stations, we have B2B businesses, we have B2C businesses that come out there, and they're advertising and marketing what they're doing, whether it even be just a sports league or things like that. And I think you can look at where are some of those opportunities where you can set up and tell the story about your league. Sign up here, get more information, have an open house night. Maybe you're meeting at, I don't know, what's a place downtown? I'm drawing a blank, with the H. It's the cool little craft wine cider, whatever place. They've got plants all over that you can do.
Hartwell.
Which one?
Hartwell.
Thank you, Hartwell. He knew maybe it's an open night at Hartwell that you're having, an open call just to meet and mingle. Maybe it's at a local brewery, things like that you can do to just kind of really try and connect people. Because ultimately, I think you're also building a girls' club, a social club, if you will. And so getting those people together, getting them wanting to be engaged, and then have fun with it. And look at your local parks. Look at your city parks that maybe are very low cost or free to use. Try to do that too to get your costs down. And then as far as sponsorships, that is so much work and it is so much time, but it can pay off. Look at things that people that are focused on who is your demographic, and then who are people trying to target your demographic, and try and match those up.
I thought you brought up a great idea in terms of activation. I would suggest reaching out to the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, who had something quite similar not so long ago with pickleball in City Plaza. So they squared it off on a weekend. They had all these different tournaments happening, and it was something that, if you can get them to pay for it, you should. But it could be an activation, because they too are also trying to promote downtown Raleigh and bring people to the downtown area. So that.
And
Jen,
make sure
brought
you
up a great
follow
idea.
us on NC Vibes. We have at least four different events coming up. Make sure you sign up for all of those. And it's better than any kind of online marketing, because you do meet one-on-one. Same with Shop Local Raleigh. There's a lot of events that they do. And we have one May 10th, June 7th, July 12th. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them. But make sure you follow us, and you need to connect with local people. Jen is a great tool. So when you see a great person to connect with, just make sure you see them afterwards.
Okay.
I think it's time for a break, isn't it?
Okay.
Are you guys tired?
Let's do this. Let's maybe talk. I see there's
At 3 o'clock we have NC State, and we have 3 o'clock we have NC State. They're all coming to SBTDC here. I always get those letters mixed up, but I think I got it after 3 years. They've been influential in SBTDC. Did I get it right? But they have been so good at helping us put this event together, and they connected me with Todd, with Mark, and with Jen. I knew you before, but anyway, so I'll take credit for that. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, and we appreciate your help. And please stick around a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people would like to know how to connect with you. They'll be outside.
Not a long break, but 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, come back here. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Good, how are you?